sharp, strong, hot, spicy smoke, and that smoke quickly disappears, leaving you with this lovely sweetness. Greetings to my 1109 subscribers, and of course, you, my future subscriber. Tonight, we are looking at Ardbeg Blaaack, or Black, of course, the black sheep of the family. And this is the special edition. This is bottled at 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, natural color from the Islay region of Scotland, island as well. And of course, I'm looking at something that I'm not always comfortable in. I'm not always a big fan of the peated whiskies. Although over the last couple of years, I keep on saying I'm not a big fan of peated whiskies. If you look here at the back, you'll see a couple of peated whiskies that I bought over the last 2 years. And I keep on finding nicer and nicer whiskies. Especially some of them that was quite a surprise. I'm not a big peat fan, and I was looking at the Octomore and the 6.1, and I was pleasantly surprised, loved it. Unfortunately for me, the prices of the Octomore is a little bit ridiculous. So a couple of them, the Loch Lomond peated, I did like it. The Lechek 10 for me was absolutely fantastic. Port Charlotte, really nice peated whiskies. Then I had a couple of stinkers, and the Lefroy 10. I just cannot drink it. I've tried so many times. People tell me you have to go back, try it again. I have some other ones here that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. But I'm going to start off with the Black. A little bit of a surprise one. Not always available. It is the special edition. And I did a little bit of digging in my online store where they sell some samples. And so every now and again, I think they open up a bottle so that all the high-paying Patreons can buy a bottle and maybe try it before you buy it. Love that idea. So this one was not available for a long time. I was keeping an eye on it, and the other day I went online and I saw that they are selling samples. They're no longer available, so all the stock is depleted. So one bottle may be left that they open up to taste. And I got an opportunity to buy it. So a wheat ram, 50 mils. And wasn't that expensive when the bottle came out. I see they were advertising it for 199 euros a bottle. Oh, bloody ridiculous. But anyway, especially when you put a special edition in it, that normally means you're going to pay a lot of money for it. So I picked up the sample. I also had a look online to see if it's still available, and if you have deep pockets or a nice platinum credit card, then of course you can still pick it up. Anything from, I would say, minimum 220 euros, and the average price on one of the websites is going to be 555 euros for a bottle. What an absolute disgusting number. But anyway, we are going to take a look at the Ardbeg Blaaack. I like the name, the AAA Black. So really black, like the black sheep of the family. I also like the box, and I'll put some pictures of the box on it with that little stand out black sheep. So this is the 20th Committee Anniversary Limited Edition. And of course it is matured fully, from what I understood, in Pinot Noir wine cask from New Zealand. And of course it's a little bit of a reference to all the sheep in New Zealand. Apparently like 1 sheep per person, which is quite a lot of sheep. So quite looking forward to see if I can pick up a little bit of a wine cask. Always seem to struggle with that. A lot of whiskies that I've tried that was finished in wine casks, it's not always showing that little winey note. Well, we'll see on this one. Color-wise, it is non-chill filtered, natural color. So it's age statement wise, I have no idea. It is no age statement on the bottle. So how old it is, your guess is as good as mine. Maybe after the review, I'll do a little bit of digging and I'll put it here somewhere if I can find some type of age of the whiskey. So color-wise, I do like it. A little bit of a light copper color, maybe a little bit of a 18 karat gold. So quite pleasant on the color. On the nose, of course, cheers. Now I was a little bit surprised on the nose. When I opened up even this small little bottle, I did give it a little bit of a sniff, and that iodine just kicked me right into the teeth, that sooty notes. And I thought to myself, oh my word, I think I just spent about €10 for this sample, €10.50. I think I just wasted my money, not going to enjoy it. But in a glass, totally different. And surprisingly, there's a nice, lovely sweetness coming out. But definitely, I get that speed, I get that smoke, I get that iodine, TCP, a little tar note, creosote, all of those a little bit, well, off-putting notes that I don't always love. But what I do know is give it a little bit of time, get that stinky air out, that little note of, that reminds me so much of that hospital smell. I hate hospitals. But then it does change quite fast. It's like it just lifts a veil, and then you are left with a lovely sweetness. There's a little bit of a vanilla note, a sweet, light vanilla note coming out. Even a little bit of a fruity note appearing. There's a hint of an apple note, maybe a little bit of a dried apricot or dried peach note at the back. That smells a little bit creamy, which is a little bit surprised. Maybe something like a vanilla ice cream with a hint of some fruit flavoring that you add to it, a little peachy fruit flavoring. Reminds me a little bit, maybe a little bit of a jam, a peach jam, maybe to add that to your ice cream. I think I'm building up something very sweet, but it is quite pleasant on the nose. Now, even at the alcohol level of 46% ABV, even with a little bit of an agitation, I'm not getting much of that alcohol notes. Not a lot about the ethanol, that little bit of nail polish. I don't get any of that. So, but the presumption, it is definitely not a very young whiskey. It's definitely not as young as the wee beastie at 5 years old. It's, for me, it goes much closer maybe to the 10-year-old. But we can also do a comparison. I do have the 10-year-old here and I do have the wee beastie here. Every time that I do go back, it's really becoming much nicer. That stinkiness, that creosote, that medicinal notes, the iodine, the TCP notes is slowly disappearing, just leaving a nice, lovely sweetness. Also, maybe the nose is trying to reject that smell. Quite enjoying it now on the nose. Really getting nice. On the taste, cheers. Sharp, strong, hot, spicy smoke. And that smoke quickly disappears, leaving you with this lovely sweetness. Surprisingly very sweet. I did not expect that. I picked up the nice, lovely sweetness on the nose, and then, I did translate quite nice into the taste. That 46% ABV definitely showing up. That is a lovely, strong taste, like a little chilliness warming up the mouth, going right into the belly. Quite interesting. I also pick up a little bit of dark chocolate, a very dark chocolate. There's not the chocolate does not bring sweetness to it. It is just a hint of the taste of the chocolate. And I also get a little bit of an espresso bitterness, and still not a lot of bitterness. So I presume that this wine cask did not leave a lot of the tannins, maybe a nice, fresh, first full wine cask. Let me try it again. There's a little bit of an oiliness, a little oily mouthfeel. It just covers the mouth, and it covers it with that little heat, the sweetness, oakiness coming through, and a little bit of a burnt caramel note also appearing. Maybe a little bit of a English toffee added to it, but it is still quite pleasant. I'm not a big fan of bitter whiskies or highly tanned whiskies. So this one for me is perfect. Medium finish. So you get that heat, sweetness, little toffee note, a caramel note, a little espresso note in the end. And after that, that sweetness starts to disappear. And then you are left with a mouthful of, how shall I describe it? Iodine, a little medicinal, smoky note. Definitely not a savory note, more a earthy type of notes. Not a bacony note, but definitely a smoke that was, I think you just sucked it straight from the fire and you add a little bit of that hospital note to it. Definitely not a bad whiskey. Well, actually, I do like it quite a lot. Price-wise, of course, if I can find it, there's no way on this earth that I will spend 200 to 500 euros for a bottle of whiskey. Doesn't matter how special edition it is. I think for me, if I do pick something like this, put it on the shelf, wait for the idiots in 5 years' time that loves it way too much, and they will probably buy it back from me for another 500-600 euros. Yeah, but that's not me. If I buy it, I want to drink it. I'm not in it to make money. I'm in it to have a good time with him. But on that, I do like it, but it's sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a comparison. Now, I did pour myself a 10-year-old. Didn't have a full bottle left, but I do still had a sample. Opened the sample. 10-year-old Islay single malt Scotch whiskey Ardbeg the ultimate. I see they like the word the ultimate. Also on the black, they use the ultimate. So everything is the ultimate for them. And this is bottled at 46% ABV. Now, if I compare the two colorways, the 10-year-old lighter, which is surprising. But yeah, so a little bit lighter. I think a little bit more citrusy note. And less of the peat note. Definitely this one is sweeter than the 10-year-old. And definitely lighter than the special edition black. This one is definitely more robust for me, a little bit more complex for me. Really nice. But the 10-year-old? Yeah, the 10-year-old more lemon and lime type of dram, and more citrusy notes coming out. I'm not going to give it a taste now. I think once you have started with one of them, especially with the high parts per million on the phenols, it makes it a little bit more difficult to distinguish between the two. But my nose is telling me lightness on the 10-year-old. I also have the wee beastie. Color-wise, definitely more towards the black. Again, the wee beastie. The ultimate, of course, Islay single malt whiskey, non-chill filtered. And I've also noticed that nobody is talking about the coloring. Proudly telling us that it is non-chill filtered, but there's no information on if I add color. They did I did do some digging already, and it seems that I don't add coloring to it, so natural color. Would have been nice to put it on a bottle. And this one for me, it's quite an interesting one. I will leave it at that. There's that iodine PT specific to Ardbeg notes that comes out. It is also, well, it goes a little bit darker for me on the nose as well. And it's quite comparable for me to the black. This is the black. This one, very similar to me. This one, the 5-year-old, I think it's got a little bit more of the smoke on the nose. And it's got a little bit of a rubbery note on it. And I presume, if I remember correctly, there is a little bit of a maturation with some sherry cask, and that will explain that little rubber note. I could be totally wrong, but I do pick it up on this one. It does open with time. I've had this bottle maybe a year and a half, can't remember. It does change over the time. So when I first got the wee beastie, couldn't stand it. The nose was for me just too much. It's drinkable. I know there's a lot of people that love them, but this one is definitely changing. A little bit more mellowed down, a little bit more fruity notes coming out, a little bit more sweetness coming out. So yeah, maybe with a little bit of extra time, I will give it a go. And maybe if I do find a lot difference, I will do another review on this one. But tonight we are sticking to the Ardbeg Black. It is lovely now. Now almost very little of that peat on the nose. Still looking for the Pinot Noir. The only thing that I can say that could be a power of suggestion, the mind playing tricks, there is a hint of a sour note, but just a hint. So that can be the cask from the wine cask. I'm not sure, but there is a hint of it. So interesting. Am I willing to pay that amount of money for a bottle of whiskey? Hell no. If somebody donated to me, well, thank you very much. I can only imagine the duties and taxes that I'm going to pay for it here in Belgium. On 200 milliliters importation duties will cost me about 35 euros. So can you imagine if my Belgian authorities see a bottle like this and declare that 400 euros, oh my word, I'm going to pay a fortune in taxes. But I do like it, but I'm not willing to pay that for a bottle of whiskey. What do you think? Have you tried it? Is it something that you would buy? Well, is it something that you would love as a gift for Christmas? What about a birthday gift? Is it something that you will suggest for your friends, especially your rich friends, and telling them that if you want to buy something fantastic, try the Ardbeg Black? And of course, those in the know, can you please leave a comment? How old is the whiskey in this bottle? So I hope you enjoyed this review. A little bit of a comparison, nose-wise, with a 10-year-old and a wee beastie. And which one would you prefer? Which is your favorite Ardbeg? I did some reviews on other Ardbegs, and I must admit, the black is right up there for me as the #1 Ardbeg. So wish you a fantastic day, night, evening, and remember to like and subscribe, and I see you next time. Cheers.